Hey, welcome everybody. This is the conversation. Outspoken Opinionated. Of course, I am your host, Edwin Maya. We are back for a great Thursday. If you are watching, for those who are watching, I say thank you for joining us. It's a beautiful Thursday. This conversation is going to be amazing. I have two amazing guests who's going to be here with me this evening. So I just want to, first of all, I want to apologize to you guys for last week. We couldn't be live last week. We had some technical difficulties, but today the conversation is going to be extremely great. I have both of my guests are already in the broadcast. They're in the studio. We're ready to go. If you aren't watching, if you aren't, following us, of course, we are on Instagram. It's opinionated. Outspoken Opinionated Podcasts on Facebook. We are the conversation Outspoken Opinionated. On YouTube, we're the conversation Outspoken Opinionated. Of course, we are on Spotify. So if you haven't found us, you can join us. We are on Spotify. We ask you to go to the conversation Outspoken Opinionated. We are on Apple Podcasts, the conversation Outspoken Opinionated. There are so many great things happening with the podcast. We ask you guys to follow us, to join us. Just be a part of this movement that we have started to have these various conversations that affect us as Black people, that affect us as Black men, Black women, and every person, every individual around, I would say around the world. And so without further ado, I'm going to bring my first guest into the studio. I see Dr. Lulu is already here, so I'm going to bring her in. Dr. Lulu, how are you? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can.
Yes, good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm a little frazzled because I've got this light.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to come to the bedroom where it's just a little bit quieter than the living room where my son is playing his video games. But I'm here.
Good. So it's good to have you. We have our other guest. I believe she's going to be back soon, but we said thank you for joining the broadcast and being here with us to have this conversation. It's extremely important. If you can just introduce yourself to the people, who are you, what you do, that would be amazing.
My name is Dr. Lulu, aka the Momatrician. So I'm a mom and I'm a pediatrician. That's my claim to fame. I'm also the CEO of Dr. Lulu's Life Coaching Lounge. So we come on Zoom or in person and we just lounge out and just wild out. I like to focus on parents or queer kids in particular, but I'm a general life coach as well. So I can work with you on whatever your dreams are. I can help them come true as long as it's not something bad. What else? I'm an author. I'm a best-selling author. I'm a TEDx speaker. I got my second TEDx talk coming up. I am an agitator for the governor of the state of Texas. Yes, I claim that. I'm also I won an award for the agitator of the year. They call it advocate of the year, but I call it agitator of the year. So I won the award for advocate of the year. It was given to me last month by the San Antonio LGBT Chamber of Commerce. I'm a freelance writer. I've written on many publications. I've been on, I don't know, all kinds of TV interviews. I've been around. If you Google Dr. Lulu, you will find me. That's for sure.
Amazing. I'm going to bring in the other guest, Miss Angel. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you.
Good. So if you can just introduce yourself, tell the people who you are, what you do, and we will just go straight from there.
So my name is Angel, and I work in youth development right now. I don't have a long speech. But yeah, my name is Angel, and I work with youth development.
Awesome. So I wanted to have this conversation based on conversations that I've had with other people. People have been texting me, and what has been coming to me really has been, let's have this conversation to really, really, really bring normalization to this issue within the African community. And I think this conversation started with me and some of my friends where it's just like, okay, it seems like it's like this black elephant in the room. It's like you go somewhere, you know people, you know what's happening, but nobody cannot talk about it. It's just like, and so I wanted to have a conversation because I am, Dr. Lulu, I am the certified executive disruptor. I just
We're
everything.
gonna have good time because I'm an agitator. You know what?
So as you as an agitator, I'm a disruptor. So that's
I'm
what I
telling you, in my queendom, nobody can take my joy. You can stay in your little place over there and feel little. I am
uh-huh.
loud, Nigerian. We come loud as it
You
There
gets.
know
you
they
go.
carry last.
There you go. So we are going. So I know we're going to have a good
So
time.
it is a time of the black woman. We've got a black vice president. We've got a black, I don't know the name in the Supreme Court. We've got black women causing a hell of a good trouble right now. So I am here for all of it. Let's bring it. Let's do it.
And that's good. So to start off the conversation, I wanted us to talk about, the entire LGBTQI community. When it comes to us as African people who are from African descent, these conversations aren't being had in our homes. And I received a text message literally from one of my friends who said, "I don't know what to do. My daughter said that she's gay," and all I could say was, "Love on her."
Mhm.
I'm like, just love on her. And so I just want to bring it up to you guys. What can people, parents, family members do when it comes to that?
I mean, obviously, this is not something that we can answer in one month even. I mean, if I may say so myself, it's deep seated. Unfortunately, for most people in today's world, they don't know enough. They only know enough to be dangerous. They don't know that if you go into the authentic, original African custom, you will see that same gender activity is not new. Unfortunately, the Abrahamic religion, which is what it's called, Christianity and the like, which are relatively new religions, as a matter of fact, they have come with this, iron hammer kind of God that, kills you and negative Armageddon and all this nonsense. But the truth is, if you go into history, you find out that, and I'm an Igbo woman, I can speak for my tribe. Igbo women in the olden days used to take on wives. They used to take wives. And not for their husbands either. They took wives for themselves. This is a known thing. And then those who are against it say, well, we don't know if they took the wife for sexual. Really? Why is your mind going to sexual? Why is it that when you hear LGBT, the first thing you think about is sexual? Why?
Mhm.
You need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. Because the truth
Okay.
is, if my child is transgender, there's nothing sexual about that. Nothing. And even if my child is a lesbian, there's nothing sexual about that until you bring in sex. My child is just my child. Because nobody comes and talks about, oh, there's that man and his wife. Oh, all they do is have sex. No, we don't do that. And
No.
so I will keep it real all day, honey, and give it back to you exactly the way you give it to me. I'm going to let my sister talk. I love your pink jacket, by the way, sis.
Love
Um, Obviously, that's a very touchy subject in our communities. Like the word gay, and we know how we like to say in Liberia, a gay. You
it.
know, are
Yeah,
you a
that
gay?
gay.
Like, what
What
is
is
a
that?
gay? What is that? But no, it's very touchy, and also like she said, or Dr. Lulu said earlier, religion is a big part because every time people condemn and castigate gay people, it's always referred to the Bible. Oh, the Bible says we cannot be gay. Or in the Bible, I think, what is it, Exodus or Leviticus that they like to quote every second, you shouldn't be gay, it's gay, it's a sin, and so forth. But I think the conversation should be, we should step away from that and try to open our minds because regardless of what it is, your child should be your child, regardless of their orientation. You
Certainly.
understand me? And
Yeah.
then it's I know because then also it comes down to what would society think? When we
Mhm.
get away from the religious aspect of it, what would society think? What would my friends think? That means I failed as a parent when I have a gay child. And then some of the conversations that I've heard is, oh, children, what do I say? Children live what they learn, right? But then
Yeah.
in African cultures, if you come out to be gay and you have a mom and a dad, is it really live what you learn? So I don't know. I just feel like it's a sticky conversation, and parents with gay children need to have like thicker skin and learn to love their children regardless of what they are or who they are as a whole individual. Because if we take away sexuality or gender identity or orientation, is it still not your child? So are you okay if I'm happy with a guy, regardless if he's beating me upside my head, he is financially draining me, whatever the case might be, but because he's a man, you're happy. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think love the whole being. Learn to love your children regardless of who they present or who they are as sexual beings, and forget who they sleep with. Stop making gay, because if you're straight, when I see a straight person, I'm like, oh my God, can we be explicit a little bit? Because I feel like, you know what I mean? Like when I see a straight person, I'm not like, oh my God, can I imagine how he's penetrating her? So why when you see a gay couple, it's like, oh, excuse the expression, but if it's two guys, who's bending over? And if
Yeah.
it's two girls, oh, who's the man? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We don't ask those questions to straight people, so I don't think those are appropriate questions. But
But I'm very proud of you for saying it's not a matter of could we be explicit. This is what people are already thinking, and that's why
Exactly. And that's the
I have
disruption.
no apologies when I say I know what you're thinking. I was
right,
married to a Liberian woman, as a matter of fact.
Mm.
You know, we didn't survive COVID, but we're still very good friends to this day. But we did not.
Yay!
We didn't.
Liberia in the house.
When I say her father's name, everybody knows because her dad was like the surgeon for Charles Taylor or something. So we were married for 10 years. And that's what everybody wanted to know. And I told him, I said, well, I'll tell you as soon as you tell me. As soon
Right,
as you tell me, I'll tell you. Because the truth is, you're reducing an entire experience to the
right.
bedroom. You know, we fight, we love, we have children, we have work, we have mental health issues, we
Yep.
buy cars, we buy a new house. I mean, we're like regular people.
Hmm.
But I don't also, the only thing I don't agree with, I don't chuck it up to, oh, this is a sensitive topic. I don't, because I think the more we say that, the more people say it's sensitive. There's nothing sensitive about me loving my child. I live in Texas today. The sitting governor of Texas is telling me that my child doesn't exist, and if I support my child, I should be arrested and put in jail. Do you know what child abuse is? Do you know what the parents who supports their child, do you know what that means? It's not child abuse in any diction. So let's even stop talking about, oh, it's sensitive, because I'm not afraid of religion. I believe that God is actually LGBT. And let me tell you why. God has no gender,
Yeah.
or at the most, God is bi-gender or
Hmm.
non-binary. That's all LGBT. God is not a man. Who said that? Do you know? Have you met any men and how they think? If God really did make me in their image and likeness, and I'm a girl, God has girl in them. And so I'm
Mhm.
not worried about it at all. I tell you like it is. You haven't seen God, and neither have I. And until we both see God, my God has every aspect of me in them. And therefore, God is also a woman. You know, and I prefer to think that God is a woman, by the way. Because the way I've seen some Ted Cruz's and some of these acting, I do not think my God is a man. It's just too big to squish into a man.
Hmm.
And so if God is potentially both genders, that's two spirits. That's two S, LGBTQIAP, two S. If God
Oh,
is a gender, that is LGBT, a gender. If God is non-binary, that is LGBT. If God is bi-gender, that is LGBT. So we have four arguments versus one that God is male. Which one do you think? If
true.
you don't know something, ask questions. Ask
And
questions.
I think that's where this
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think that's what the problem is, because just for us to talk on the whole sexual orientation and gender identity, I think that's a huge misunderstanding. Is people just say all kinds of stuff and you sit there like, okay, have you read anything? Like, can you just take your phone and Google and make yourself? It would be
No,
so
I can only take screenshots of people on gay couples and post them on Facebook groups and insult
yeah.
them. That's the only thing
Don't
we know. Yeah.
I'm like, don't say that. That is so ignorant. Like, you need to know the difference. It's a huge difference. Like,
But
there's
I'll also say this though. sometimes the problem also comes from us within the community, right? Because, and I say that because I've watched a few lives with gay known Liberians, and the things that I've heard, so questionable, especially when it comes to like the trans issue. It's
Okay.
so like you you don't you're cross dresser or whatever, but then when you're explaining what transgender is, you misgendering them, you're
Well,
using words that are not appropriate anymore, you know what I'm
Exactly.
saying? So it's like, then if a person who's not part of the community uses those words, you want to get offended, but then you also part of the community, you are misgendering and mislabeling people, and you're using derogatory terms trying to explain what it is. So it's contradicting. And then other people who are not, they're arguing to be like, oh, but this person said it and this person is part of. And you're like, yes, but you know what I mean? So it's a slippery slope.
Well, the funny thing though, I'm glad you brought that up because I was on Clubhouse the other day and I didn't have a mic and I didn't raise up my hand or anything. I was just listening in the background. And this gentleman comes and says he is a black gay man. He said, I've been gay my whole life. I was like, okay, check. Then somebody said, well, so do you think that being sexually assaulted caused you to be gay? He said, well, I was never sexually assaulted and I'm still gay. Check. Then he now said, well, so do you think that when kids see their parents who are same gender, they become gay? And then he now said, well, I mean, it's possible. I was like, what?
How is
So
that possible?
and one of the things I love people to I love to give them a long rope so they can hang themselves.
Hang
Hang
themselves.
themselves, right?
If a child that sees gay people can become gay, then all the kids who have been seeing straight people, they should be straight by now.
Problem
I want,
solved.
I want you to see the ignorance in that conversation. Like, oh, because a child sees. Do you know anybody in their right sense who say, let me see of all the things I can be, let me choose
To be
that?
persecuted and insulted, and you know what I mean? Like,
Insulted, looked
You
down.
read my name.
You,
Exactly.
you are questioned for everything you do, for the way
everything.
everything is
And you
questioned.
can be killed. You can get killed.
Look for that. And so that's my thing.
Choose to be gay. Really?
And that's what's for me is really for me. That's my real. I think I sit down and I think about that. Okay, so living in a advanced world, you're fine. It's not as good as it is, but you're okay. You're fine.
Compared to, yes.
But then you see people who live in a developing country, who live in like Africa, other developing countries, the continent, or other countries in Africa, where they are fighting with their sexuality, but they're so proud of who they are. And then you say things about. I'm like, okay, so you were telling me that this person wants to be beaten, this person wants to be persecuted, this person is really enjoying the negativity that comes to them. It's okay. So I'm like, so how can you really, how can you fathom that? How can I understand that I want to be hurt and so I'm doing this? And so
Right.
that is why I think this is what upset me most. And people who watching might get offended. I really get offended when I see that the only way certain comedians think they can make us laugh is to crush this. That is a problem for me. And so I see that a lot when it comes to like I would say a lot of our Liberian comedians, a lot of African comedians, even African American comedians, the only way they feel that they can make us laugh is when they cross dress. And I'm like, okay, why? What is funny about that? What is funny of you that they're like, why?
So I don't know. Yeah, so I have a book coming up, coming out in 3 weeks. It's called Invited In: How to Become the Parent Your LGBTQ plus child needs. And in that book, I do a whole chapter on internalized homophobia. That's what's causing all of that. Internalized homophobia. The fact that you yourself hate yourself so much, you want to make fun of yourself. It's a thing. Like you can look it up. Like I'm not just do your
thing. It's a real thing.
Look, do your homework. A lot of the intense homophobes out there are actually queer people.
Yeah.
But in their mind, they're like, how dare you live your life out loud when I can't live my life out loud? Let me attack you. And so they do that. and they think it's funny. And then the rest of us who don't know any better also think it's funny. But really, inside of them, they are hurting so much. And they have nothing else to say except to just pick on themselves. Think about it. Most people pick on it. Oh, I'm so fat. Oh, I'm so skinny. Oh, I'm so. People say that. Oh, I'm so dark. Think about that. People always turn against themselves. And that's why it's easy for people too who are comedians to make fun of what they are because it's somehow in their mind they think, okay, it can be less. But think about the suicide rate. 42% of kids in the LGBT community attempt seriously consider suicide or attempt suicide. 42%. That's a lot of human beings.
That's a lot. Yep.
Because they're very happy. That's why they're attempting suicide. And I know the people who want to say yes is because they are queer. That's why they are suicidal. Shut up and listen to what you're saying. The fact that a little baby is happy until something happens, then the baby starts crying. I've never seen a baby that just starts crying just for crying's sake. Something disrupts their milieu. And so the same thing with a child who wants to jump to their death, something happened. And so if you check out my TED talk, I don't know if I can mention that here, my TEDx talk, I mentioned there that is parental betrayal. And by parental, I mean anybody who is the role of a parent in life that betrayed them so deep that they say, you know what, it's better for me to just check out.
Take my life. Yeah, and it's deep because years back I used to mentor in this mentoring group here in Maryland, and there was this kid who was part of the group. We just we would talk, share information and stuff, and then years later, I see him one day, and I see him like in the downtown area. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, oh, my parents kicked me out. I'm like, why your parents kicked you out? He said, my parents kicked me out because I came out to them. And from the program, I knew his mom and everything. And so I was like, okay, let me talk to your mom. And so, I called her. At that time, he was in I think it's like a transitional home or halfway home. He was there. He was homeless. And I called her and I set up a meeting with her and I met with her. And I said, I met, and we talked and he told me that you guys house. And she said, yes. No, our African parents, yes. No gay person can be in my house and blah, blah, blah. And so I asked her. And I said, so when you asked him to leave, where was he going? And she stopped. I don't think she ever thought about that. I think it was just, she was so, the whole thing about my child is being gay and people are going to look at me and all these things going to happen.
And if he stays in my house, that means I'm accepting that.
And so I asked her, sister, where do you expect him to go? And she just sat there for like 5 minutes. She didn't say anything. And then she just started boiling.
Of
and
course.
She said, what do I do? I said, I don't know what you can do, but first of all, what I would say you should do, go and find your child.
Find your kid.
What you're doing right now, you have exposed him to things that, trust me, you don't want, you don't want, it's going to be worse than what you think is worse now.
Oh, I love you so much for saying that.
Yeah, and so she was able to go find him. She's got him and everything. And it's funny because every time I see her, she would like give me this stuff. It's like, you go in like these African gatherings and you can say nothing, but she just gave me this like real tight hug. Yeah. And I know exactly what she means.
Why? Yeah.
Yes. I know why she's hugging me because I think a lot of parents, they don't understand that.
They don't understand. So if the parents are struggling with the triple threat of guilt, shame, and fear. Guilt because you think there's something damaged in you. That's why you produce a damage because they use that. They think the child is somehow
damaged. Yeah.
Shame because you're like, oh my God, what are my friends going to say? And what to that I say, those friends who mind that you support your child do not matter. Those parents, those friends who truly matter will not mind that you support your child. And then
besides, sometimes you don't even know what their kids are doing. Those are the ones that have the worst kids.
And what is even the worst kid? You know what I mean? Like what what makes a kid worse if not the environment that they're raised in? So what is the responsibility that you're taking to create that child? I have a book coming out that's called What If My Child is a Bully? And in that book, I'm telling parents how the making of a bully, the fact that a bully a child was okay until something happened, and then how the child reacted to that something is what can create a bully or not. I mean, let's just be honest. And you're right. I mean, yeah, she told him to get out of the house because in her mind, let me save my face. Really?
Yeah.
You think
Let-
you think God will kick his child? You know, let me tell you something about Christians of today. If Jesus came in today's world, they will shoot him in the back.
Oh, of course.
Jesus Christ will hang out with the gays. That's why he was crucified in his time, for hanging out with the tax collector. I mean, same thing. They say, wait,
But,
he was Jesus? Oh, we didn't know it was Jesus. Wait, what was he doing with the gays?
but there's a conversation I had with somebody last summer. We're talking about how they said, wow, there's the LGBTQI, they have infiltrated a lot of places. Their laws have been changed for them to get married, blah, 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 blah. And in the church, they took away prayer from school and blah, blah. I say, and you know why, you guys? You know why I would call it an institution? Because I want to call them the institution because they act like they're some office. Let's say, you know why? It's because you guys are not together. You have this group and this group and this other one. And this you have someone who's Pentecostal will look down on someone who's Catholic or look down on someone.
Yeah.
But you guys we are all saying that we are Christians, believe in God, Jesus, but there is so much division. I said, but when it comes to the LGBTQI community, there is one agenda.
Yeah.
Everybody wants equality. Everybody wants to be taken serious, and everybody wants to be equal to receive the same rights. But the fact of the matter is, there are multiple things that you want, and everybody have their own way how they want it. So it's hard for you to get one thing passed. And so when we're looking at you, I said, that's all it is. If everybody can be as organized and get things together, we can get a lot of things done as Christians. But we also talk down on each other. God forbid if a pastor get divorced. Oh my God. And I asked somebody one time, I said, but you can go to your doctor office and your doctor get divorced and you'll be fine going to that doctor.
The doctor is not on the pulpit. The doctor is not on the pulpit. You have to live, practice what you preach.
But I'm like, okay, but this man is a pastor. That's his job. That's what he does. If we're saying that God ordained him and God brought him and set him in this space for him to lead you guys, who are you to now tell him that he can't do what God has ordained him for because life happened?
Yes, and that's the $1 million question. They have removed humans. They've removed the fact that we are all first humans from the equation. If they remember that we're first of all humans, then nobody's going to say that the pastor is at the pulpit and the doctor is at the dentist. And that's why I said what I said at the beginning. They don't look at Jesus as a man. They only see Jesus as God. But Jesus was truly man and God. And Jesus, the man, was the one that cried when his friend died. Jesus, the man, was the one that felt power leave his body when the woman touched his cloak. Jesus, the man, was the one that took pity on the people and said, how much food do you have? And made 5 loaves and 2 fish feed the multiple. Jesus, the man, took pity on the woman at the well. Jesus, the man, said to the prostitute, he said, wait, where are they? Nobody stayed to stone you? Because he asked him, he said, whichever one of you has not committed sin, she stone her first. Jesus, the man, is the one that people forget that he said to his mother at the wedding in Cana, he said, woman, my time hasn't come. That was an attitude. Jesus had an attitude with his wife. He said, what are you doing, man? Then she said, y'all just do whatever he said. And then he changed water to wine. Jesus, the boy, was the one that challenged his mother and said, what do you mean you're looking for me for 3 days? Did you not remember that I'll be in my father's house? Jesus, the boy, was the one that became Jesus, the man. And we are human. And we can see each other more in those times when Jesus was man. But we choose not to. We choose to see Jesus, the God, at the transfiguration.
Mhm.
One incident versus all of the other human things that Jesus did. That's why I said, look, I can start a church today and I'll make millions, but I'm not about that. Because
And
Christianity is a cult.
yes,
Christianity is a cult. A
it's
cult
that's what we're going to.
Yes, a cult is when there are multiple people who have the same thinking. That's what a cult is.
Hmm.
That's it's easy for African pastors to come and spit in your face and pee in the cup and ask you to drink in
And
that.
say you drink, and I'm like, ah,
Yes, and all these things. I say it's God. You see, that's cultism. As long as he's putting the gays down, he's a good pastor. He's a good
That's
man.
of Christ. Yeah.
Never put anybody down. He went and called Zacchaeus. He said, Zacchaeus, come down from the tree. I'm going to eat dinner at your house. That was a tax collector. Jesus was the one that said, bring them to me. He never told anybody to go away, but today's pastors tell people to go away. So
yeah.
who is fooling who? Who is kidding who?
Just I've come to realization, know God for yourself. And that it will save you a lot of headache and a lot of trauma. But I want us to talk about this. So a couple of months ago, there was a picture that went viral. A picture of, am I going to say the name right? Gabrielle Union and her husband and their daughter Zara,
Zaya.
there, where she's kissing her boyfriend. But they're 13 or 14 years old. I want to be so correct. They're 13 or 14 years old. So I'm going to tell you my experience. So I get the picture sent to me and say, what do you think? I'm like, as a dad, my 13-year-old not going to be kissing nobody in front of me. I'm posting no picture on social media. Everybody, and they're like, but what do you mean? You know, they're celebrating sexuality. I said, no. This has nothing. I said, for me personally, I parent different. Everybody parent differently. So I'm not even going to talk to them about their parenting style. So this is where I put myself in the space. Will I be okay with my 13-year-old son kissing his 13-year-old girlfriend in front of me? No, that's not going to happen. I don't support that and stuff like that. But then I saw people who turn it into, well, she trans and it's a gay thing. And it just went into this whole thing. I'm just like, what does this have to do with any sexual orientation? It just has to do with their kids. So I want to hear your opinion. If you've seen the picture, Angel, you look like you've seen the picture, you have an opinion.
I saw the picture. It was like 2 weeks ago. I did see the picture. I think it was over Easter weekend or something.
Yes.
Again, like you said, I was more concerned of the age and not of their orientation or identity. But then
Yeah.
I did see a lot of conversation about that as well, where it's like, oh my God, that's a girl that's turning into a boy. So they're trans. Um, she's trans too. Zaya's trans. And I'm just like, okay, I have a 13-year-old. I'll be damned if he's coming home and kissing somebody in front of me. I don't care what you're kissing. You're not kissing in front of me. I'm not saying you're not kissing.
Exact my point. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? But then also, on the flip side, I'm like, all right, how are you kissing? Because we have to be open with our kids nowadays. Like, because if they don't do it in front of you, they're doing it behind you. And sometimes what you don't know, you cannot control, right? So I prefer if it was done in front of me and I could monitor it, so to speak, than you going to school and taking somebody's child in the bathroom, finger popping them. Because with a lot of that happening like during or in school, you already know what time it is.
And that's what I was going to say. I didn't have a problem with I don't think as a parent I'm able to stomach that. I know you're doing it behind you. I'm going to have a conversation. I'm going to have the sex conversation. I'm going to have all these conversations. But for you to do it in front of me, I don't know. That's just another level I'm not at yet.
You are that African parent.
Yes, I'm that African.
I'm glad you mentioned the African bit. I did not see the picture. My main Facebook has been hacked and it was attached to my old Instagram. So that was hacked also. So I'm just now starting again. So I didn't see the picture, but I don't have to see the picture because I'm a pediatrician and I've been a doctor for 30 years. So I've seen every combination of everything. And I'm here to tell you that those people, first of all, the people who pointed the fingers, they molest kids. Those people, they molest children. Those same people will kick out their kids in the pretext of loving and being good parents, all that bullshit. Now, as a mother of three children, two boys and one transgender daughter, none of my kids dated before they got to college. It was just the family rule. Now, when the baby came around, what happens? Like after when you get to third child, like, oh,
I heard that. Yeah.
oh, your eyes,
Whatever, yeah.
if your eyes not hanging out, then that's fine. That kind of thing. I mean, last year was like, Mom, it's a junior prom. I want to take this girl to the prom. I said, okay, well, let's do what we normally do. I want to meet the girl and I want to meet her parents. What the people are doing is removing themselves from their role as a parent. And you know what? I don't care if Gabrielle Union is okay with it. Gabrielle Union is okay with it. That's none of my beeswax. It's none of my business. I wish I had Gabrielle Union's money. That's what I'm looking at. Okay. What if wants her kid to do that? Let her and her kid do that. At least Gabrielle Union accepts her trans child.
Yep.
Most of the people that are talking, they will suck dick at church. They would commit worse crimes than those two kids kissing. They will. In today's world, there's so much mess going around with adults. They're not even able to adult themselves. Look at what happened at the Capitol as an example of adults behaving like fools. So let adults finish adulting themselves before they pick up kids. Same thing. Nationalists went to go and cause anarchy in America, the so-called superpower. The truth is coming out now. We have grown men Republicans say, oh yes, Ketanji Brown is the best candidate, but I won't vote for her. Ketanji Brown is everything, but she won't get my vote. Why? Because she's Black. So all of those people, I couldn't care less. My children are raised the way I raised them, but even at that, if I do my part as a parent, I don't have any time to see you and your child and that you're not doing your part as a parent. And who says that just because they are kissing, there's anything else going on? Why can't people just look at something and just take it and just move on? They are still children. They are still kids.
Yes, but they're gay kids. That's the problem. Because if it was a girl and a boy, nobody would have seen that.
No, man. Even if they were, even if they were not gay, if they were 13-year-old boy and girl kissing, they will have had the same judgment.
Yes, but the outrage wouldn't have been different. The outrage would have been different.
Who was outraging? That's again, we're going back to the same people. Exactly, the same people.
Yeah.
When somebody gets angry about something, the anger, that reaction is always about something in them.
Yeah.
It's never about the thing that they're angry about. I know this because I'm a life coach. It's always something in you, what you're making it mean about you. Oh, how dare they do that? And I was not able to do that when I was their age. Coming back to internalized homophobia. That is the truth of the matter. Otherwise, they're still 14-year-old kids. And 14-year-old kids in America, they have boyfriend and girlfriend from day one. It's because it's a Black transgender. The color is the reason. If you come down to the basics, because the child is Black. If it was two white kids, they might just pass. So why the double standard? Why is it okay for the two white kids to do it and the two Black kids not to do it? Come back to what we're talking about, racism, all the isms.
And I think the main thing was because, like we said, I think we've all seen is they're transgender, they're gay, and then they're Black, and then she's Black. So everybody have an opinion, everybody have to say something. And for me, I'm just like, you can have your opinion and stick it to you and have your values. But my issue is when you start taking your values and putting on other people, that's where it comes in. Because for me,
I seen a video when this happened of some guy that I think he went to the court to go and call CPS for them to audit Gabrielle and Dwayne because they were abusing their kid. It was a mess. And people actually in that video were like, bro, what are you doing? First of all, And I was impressed because this was Black people that were saying that's inappropriate for one, you calling people on parents who are actually loving their kid when they're
Okay.
actually kids who are being abused, and
Mhm.
you're sitting here wasting time. You know what I
And
mean?
you're not going there to go and adopt all of them because they're such a good person.
No.
You see that? I didn't even know about that, but I'm not surprised because I live in Texas where if you support your child, they'll call the police on you. I mean, that's what the governor of Texas is worried about that. Meanwhile, we have 45,000 children in foster homes that have no place to go to. You're not going to worry about that. We had an ice storm in Texas and we lost the power. You're not worried about that. You're not worried about the things that you, as a sitting governor, should worry about. You're worried about a parent who actually is supporting their child. So you see that I'm not surprised that somebody went to go and do tafia. Now he is doing that tafia, going over there to the judge to go. If you look deeper, you see that that guy is probably a bisexual person that's living a heterosexual life because he cannot.
Yeah,
77%, exactly 77% of adult LGBT are bisexual. 77%. So that means many people are living a fake heterosexual life. Many.
So there is this thing. I've had talking to somebody and they brought this up. Why is it that in the LGBTQI community, people always want somebody to come out? Oh, I came out and I was able to do this. Why aren't you coming out? Why don't you doing this? And so you have people who literally the same community who's supposed to protect them now turn against them,
Outing.
or start to out them and say stuff about them and stuff like that. So that's, I think, and for me, I feel that is another conversation where younger kids now, they're afraid to say something because they don't want to be outed out by their friends and stuff like that. So I don't know how we can address this, because for me it's just like, you mind your business or you get knocked out. It's simple as it is.
I think people forget sometimes the struggle of coming out for a lot of people. So it's like, oh, I've done it. You can do it. But everybody is not the same. Every family is not the same. Every society is not the same. Every community is not the same. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes when I look at it from like American standards or the West standards, you have parents, they'd be like, oh, I'm gay. They're like, oh, okay, I love you. Go and tell your African parent, they'll pray the gay out of you. They'll beat the gay. They'll kill the gay out of you if they could. You know what I mean? So sometimes when people are like, oh, but you can come out, I feel like sometimes you would forget. And there are some African kids sometimes that were born and raised here who have understanding parents that are telling other kids that are coming fresh off the boat, like, why don't you come out? And it's like, bro, you are lucky your parents are more westernized, but everybody does not have that luxury. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know if it's done to be malicious or sometimes people forget, and people forget that societies are different. So what works for person A does not necessarily work for person B. And I'm sorry, what's the big deal of coming out? Anyways, a straight person does not come to you and say, hi, my name is Angel, I'm straight.
I've been waiting for you to say that. Thank
you know what I mean? So why do I say, oh, hi, I'm Angel, I'm gay? Like, I don't understand that. It doesn't make sense to me. You know what I'm saying? That's not my identity. Like that's not a badge that you should wear on your forehead and be like, oh, because you don't walk around, you don't wear the armor of straight. So why do you expect somebody else to wear the armor of gay? I don't get it. Am I a good person? Is that person a good person? Can we work together? Are you respectful? Are you a good person? That should be what matters, besides who they identify or what the orientation is.
And I think that's why it boils down to that whole understanding the orientation versus identity, because I think it's like, why you want somebody to have this meeting and call the whole family and we got to do this, and I'm just like, did everybody in your family come out? Like, did your mother?
I love what Angel said. Angel summed it up. The heterosexual people don't come out. But again, I hate to keep going back, but it's true. My book that drops next month is talking about that. We're using the phrase "invited in" versus coming out. So if you don't create a safe enough space for me, I'm not going to invite you into my space, into my world. And so it's now changing that concept of coming out. Because if you look at the phrase coming out, you see that people come out of poverty, they come out of depression, they come out of a toxic marriage, they come out of a toxic workplace, they come out of I don't know, they come out of the bathroom, they come out of darkness, they come out of, those are things that you come out of. If you're already gay, straight, I mean lesbian, bisexual, if you're already trans, you've always been that way. You didn't just say today, okay, today I'm no longer my old self, I'm now my new self. You're not coming out of anything. And so I love that you asked that question because it really validates the fact that whose closet is it anyway? And why do you have to limit my whole life to a small closet and then expect me to come out to you and then come out multiple times? The people who out people, again, I hate that I keep going this, but it's true. They have their own insecurities inside of them. And they, misery loves company.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They don't want to be by themselves. They don't want to respect your decision. It's all setting boundaries. They don't want to respect your boundaries. You have your own reasons for not wanting to come out, and people should respect that. If you must use the word come out, I use the word share. You have your reasons for not wanting to share about your gender or sexual identity, and you have every right to not want to share. I have a friend on Instagram who said he was not going to share about his gender identity until his parents die because he knows that if he does, they're going to cut him from their from
The will.
from the will and all that. That is a real bona fide fear. He's in
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria right now. He used to live in Michigan, but he's back home in Nigeria just now. And I told him, I said, look, you're 37. Your mother will be lying to herself if she doesn't suspect that there's a reason why you're not married to a woman yet. And then this is what they'll prefer for you to marry a woman, live unhappily ever after, start using substance abuse because that's how you drown your pain, than to be your real self. How is that okay? How is that okay?
So how do we come to this place where we can normalize these conversations within? I really like to focus on black communities because even African Americans, they still struggle with this. So not even going to go to Africa. African American, not saying the Caucasians don't struggle with it, but my platform is for
With our
African
people, yeah.
and our people. So how do we normalize this conversation? I have a 9-year-old, and it's funny because we have this conversation. He's in school. He's like, it's like the other day. If I took them on a field trip, and they were talking about, he and his friends were talking about him, and the other friend was like, "But do you think maybe she's gay? Maybe that's why she doesn't want to talk to you." So, man, the other mom just listened to them who were like, there are 9, and they're having these conversations. We didn't, because they were. I think one of the friends liked the girl, and the girl wasn't paying him no mind, and so her friends was like, "Dude, maybe she's gay. She don't like you. Like, leave her alone." And so,
We
like,
are not surprised.
What an
exactly. So I'm like,
enlightened kid.
wow, like at 9.
Yes.
So
Such
how
an
do we
enlightened kid.
normalize these conversations where we can, it's an open conversation where our Black or African parents can have this conversation, and aunties and uncles can respect boundaries and just leave stuff alone and let it go.
I
But it's
think
almost like the sex.
go
Oh, sorry, you can go ahead.
no, go ahead, sweetie. Go.
Sorry. It's almost like the sex conversation. How do we normalize having sex conversation with our parents? My son. So when he first came, well, not he first came, but one of his trips, we went to like a mini pride in New York, and coming straight out of Liberia, that's like whoa. And then he said, "Oh," and he saw the guys in like their tutus and colorful, and he's like, "I think they're gay." But the way he said it, I knew it was the African derogatory term more than like, so I was like, well, Steph, people are different from you. There are different kinds of people, but they're good people regardless of what they are and who they are and what, that's don't ever, say it in that way again. So he's like, all right, cool. And I mean, he's back now. He lives here now. He's 13. He's going to boarding school. So when he was here the last time, we had the conversation like, oh, there are different people. You've seen them around. Do you have any feelings? He's like, no, I don't care. And I was like, all right, good. Because guess what? I'm not there with him. Regardless of what it is, I wasn't in Liberia and I'm now in boarding school. So the conversation just needs to happen. I think sometimes as parents, we are afraid to even have, because it's like, oh, What?
They're
How
going to
do I
say you're
start it?
telling your child to be gay. Yeah, but by telling them about it, you're going to make the child become
But
gay.
it's
That's
not even gay anymore. It's like even about sex, right? It's like we can
Yeah.
have because you
same
don't want
thing.
them to have. It's like, bro,
Yes.
regardless of what they're going to have, the sex that you're hiding.
Like it's
And you
going to
know
happen.
what?
Trust me.
It's the same talk about suicide. They think that if you talk about suicide, the person is going to get the idea to kill themselves. And nothing could be farther away from the truth than that. The truth is, if you can normalize the talk about suicide, the person will feel like, oh my God, you see me, you hear me. And rather, they now see that there's a bridge, you've built a bridge to their heart. Same thing with the sex and same thing with the queer, with the LGBTQ. The thing is, it must begin at the dinner table. It must begin at home. But to begin at home, you, my darling parents, have to first have the conversation with yourself. In my book about how to teach your children about racism, the first thing I said is that you have to first ask yourself, are you a racist? As a parent, are you a racist? If you're a racist, you're gonna be talking junk because you're a racist. So you can't have a conversation about racism unless you first deconstruct your own racist tendencies, unlearn all of that, and then start learning what's the story of a black person is, the place of a black queer person, the place of a black immigrant queer person. That's a whole
Different.
dimension. So I say, have the conversation first with yourself. The conversation must be had with yourself, with the person in the mirror, and then at the dinner table. Because, like you said, kids are already having the conversations.
Oh yeah.
People know, and let me tell you something, people know the average 2-year-old child knows, a 2-year-old boy knows that he's a boy. When I say this, people always get shocked, but I want to say it anyway. A 2-year-old girl knows that she's a girl. A 2-year-old trans person knows
Mhm.
that they have the vocabulary,
Oh,
whether they
yeah.
understand it is different. And so when the teacher said, okay, everybody get together, boys to the left, girls to the right, the trans person is like, well,
Where
I'm
do
gonna
I
go.
go?
Where do I fit in? Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that they didn't know. When they tell you about it, I have a podcast called The Pride Corner, our coming out stories and more, where I interviewed up to 100 queer people. And now that my Instagram is suspended, I can't get access to 100 interviews of all of them said the same thing. I knew when I was I knew when I was 10. And I told my dad when I was 16. It doesn't mean that I didn't know this whole time. You know, when I told my dad was is a phase, another big lie. It wasn't a phase because I was 42 years old and the phase was not going anywhere. So I want people to know that just because they tell you at 27 doesn't mean that they found out
I
at
just figured
27.
out at 27. Yes.
Sexuality is the same thing. Sexual urges start as young as 7, 8,
Yep.
9. And the kids are not saying it because you in the family are talking negative stuff about them. How are they going to tell you? They're not going to tell you.
Mhm.
Because every time you open your mouth, oh, there you go, he gay. Maybe because you yourself are gay. A lot of people that do that will come out later on in life and say, you know what, I was struggling with my own. Yeah, then shut up.
I saw. I like to watch a lot of clips on like stuff like this. So I think it was hooked on. It's one of these channels on YouTube, and it was an older guy, like very old, probably in his like 80s or 70s now. And his daughter, it was a white guy. His daughter had come out to him when she was younger, and he was so angry. Like he went off on his daughter. He was not having it. And she was like, "Well, it is what it is." So he was like, "No, you can't be gay." Blah blah blah. Blah. Only to come out like maybe like 5 6 years ago, like I'm so sorry but I did that to you, but because you were living your truth and I couldn't be that person because the way I was grew up, I was raised. So that's why I suppressed what you were going through because I was suppressing myself in the process. You know what I mean? So I'm
I
like, these
remember
things
that he was 91 when he came out. And
okay, yeah.
he was talking about his first love. Is that the one that was talking about his first
Yes,
love?
yes, yes,
He was
yes, yes,
91
him.
and his daughter was a lesbian. And that's what I said at the beginning that internalize most intense homophobes have internal have
Issues.
internalized homophobia. And they will eventually come out, they might not. But you're right. Thank you. I didn't want to take your story from you, but I wanted to just kind of give you flowers for remembering that story. That's very true. So just
So
be careful about those people because usually they are gay. That's why they have such a violent reaction. Otherwise, it shouldn't bother them so much.
so somebody texted and said, I think we have to give our African parents time to adjust. Instead of having a conversation immediately thinking they will understand it's unfair. We can have semi conversations with them, not all at once, but give them time to understand and sneak up another information on them and allow them to adjust. It took my mom 11 years to adjust, and she is still adjusting. My dad is still in denial, and it's been 11 years. We need to respect their feelings and mindset. And I totally agree with you, Samir. I think it is so true. I think, yep, you have to take steps, but at the end of the day, the individual also need to live their life. So I'm gonna give it to you and let you know how life is. And you don't want to talk about it, we're not going to talk about it. You don't want us, we're never going to address it, and that's how it's going to be, and that's how it's going to be. But I'm still going to be, I think everybody should live their life and be happy the way they want to be happy and choose their happiness. I think, like I say this all the time, it's funny because I was talking to my sister the other day. I said, love has no gender. Love is love. There is no gender that is connected to love. Love is love. This person love who they love, you love who you love, and everybody go on their business.
Hmm.
This big thing as, oh, you're gonna go to hell. We will get there. Trust me, it's going to happen. We're all
The
going to
people
get
are
there.
trying to prevent hell already, okay?
So what I'm trying to tell them is, say we're all going to get to that place because I have a friend who always says, "Why are we so hooked on to this place that nobody has gone through?"
No,
And
And Ewa came back into a story.
but you
we
know
are,
what? I
and
do
I'm
beg
like,
to
wow.
disagree. I beg
He
to
said,
disagree.
who's been there? Who don't go there and come back to
You
tell you
came
that
back
that
and
place
told us,
something
yeah.
is going on
I
there?
beg to disagree with the person who wrote the comments. I don't think African parents should get any break more than American parents or Swedish parents or parents from Germany. I do not agree. And you know what? I am entitled to my own opinion, and
Oh,
so are
definitely.
you. I don't have to agree with that person. I don't know who they are. I'm just saying to them, I don't have to agree with you because I'm an African parent. And I know the pain that my kid went through on account of their father who's intensely homophobic. So no, you African parents do not get any kind of break. If your mom takes 30 years, let her take 30 years. I don't have to agree with you. I see
Mm.
no reason why any parent should get any break. Because the reason we say that because parents make it about them. It's not about you, parents. It's about your child. And so you don't get a break. I'm sorry. Your child is struggling with suicidal ideation. In the meantime, you want me to give you a break? No, you don't get a break from me because if your child jumps to their death and die, you want me to come and send thoughts and prayers? No. You inadvertently helped your child kill themselves. We need to speak truth and call a thing a thing. I do not think anybody needs a break because, like you said, it's a child's life. You don't
Yeah.
you don't stop being their parent. I think the parent who has failed is a parent who failed to support their queer child. That's failure as a parent. You don't fail as a parent because you support your child. You fail as a parent because you do not support your child. You fail. And so that's
I'm on
my
the fence with that one. I'm definitely gonna say I'm on the fence.
we're on the fence, baby.
I'm on the fence.
I'm not on the fence.
You know what I mean? I'm on the fence
Ah,
because we all have African parents.
yeah.
So I understand both sides
My
of
book.
the argument. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I do believe in like giving your parents some slack. Like in the sense that a lot of our parents come from these strict backgrounds and what they deem right based on society and religion is a man and a woman or a man and 10 women. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And that's okay
So
though.
that's fine. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Hello.
Yeah.
You know what I
That's
mean?
my favorite.
So,
And women. Oh my God, he's such a player.
oh my gosh, he's such a great man. He's doing wonders for the earth.
And they'll praise him. Yes, they'll
Yeah.
praise
You
him.
know? Then on the other side, I'm like, you know what? If I've given you 2, 3 months of this conversation and you want to be stuck in your bubble, then I can't help you. So that's that fence. That's that struggle. You know what I'm saying? It's like, okay, I understand this is something new for you. So I'm going to respect you to take time to come to terms with it because it's probably new for you. That's it. You need time.
But
Now,
I think
time does not mean you're going to call my phone and be like, oh, you still living in sin? Excuse me?
I know, I love
Ah,
that.
That is not the time you need.
I agree with you, but I'm saying define time. One, and then two, it's not any Africa. I'm saying to you, it doesn't matter the country of the
the
parent.
culture. Okay.
I'm saying it should not say, oh, African parents get a slack. I want all parents, everybody should. I'm not speaking here because I was like, oh yeah, I support you. I knew my child was gay when they were 9 months. I've known. The transgender was like, then I went back, I said, wait. I always used to say, stop acting like a girl. I always said that. And now I said, oh, yes. My child has always been a girl. My child has always been a girl because I always open my mouth and said, stop acting like a girl. And now I see it. Does it mean that because I said stop acting like a girl, I made them a girl? No, the child has always been a girl, but it didn't make sense to me until it fell out of my head. I sent a text. I said, I just so you know that I've always wanted a daughter so I could go shopping with. And they're like, Mom, you've always had a daughter. I was like, right. I used to always say, stop acting like a girl. So be careful what you say with your mouth because that African parent, and I'm an African parent. We have to be careful. If you make it about you and then you sit down and say, no, I kick you out, I hate you, is that good? Is that what is the define the time? How much time is good enough?
Well, this was a great conversation. I told you guys are going to have a good conversation. This was amazing, guys. Those guys were super great. Dr. Lulu is coming back soon. We gonna be talking about the Warrior Women Project with 2 or 3 ladies who wrote that book. So it's been a great conversation. I want to say, guys, what you're doing, continue to do it. The struggle is real out there. There are so many people who need this conversation. There's so many places that will appreciate this kind of conversation. So wherever we are, those who are watching, we say, let's just do what we can do. So I said thank you to Angel for these great insights. Dr. Lulu, thank you as well. We appreciate you guys. And
I know we're wrapping up, but I want to say one more thing that we didn't touch on.
Go ahead.
And it's about identity and orientation. I think we kind of like brace over it. There's different types of identity. And I know sometimes people see people, not every female you see that dresses masculine is gay. Not every man you see that dresses or acts feminine is gay. People have different identities. They just present differently. And we need to keep that in mind. And they're different. That's why the LGBTQ plus community has different aspects of it. You understand what I'm saying? There are people who are pansexual. There are people who are demisexual. There are people who are bisexual, asexual, romantic sexual. There's so many sexual. So do not get confused by one term and stick to it. And people identify differently. I might dress like a boy right now and tell you know what, I just like to be comfortable, but I like men. I know guys that like to cook and would have never been with a guy before. Please be careful and know how to address people. And one more thing, if somebody tells you my pronouns are, please respect people's pronouns. It's very important because people want to feel included in things. Let's not forget that. It's very important.
Yes, ma'am. Can you do us a favor and let's have another conversation in June during Pride Month? But my son is getting an award for academic excellence, and I have to go now. I'm going to miss it. So
definitely. I want us to have a conversation on Instagram, and we'll do a part 2 of this conversation.
Yes, for Pride Month, and then you know what? Find a gay man, and if you don't have any, I have.
You good? Trust me, you good.
I mean it because I want that voice in the conversation. So
right.
I have African gay man is Ghanaian, I can bring him. Just let me know the word. Just say the word and I'll bring him
I will
in.
let you know. I want us to do a part 2, but on Instagram. Okay, Dr. Lulu. Bye. You guys have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Angel, nice to meet
Thank
you.
you. It was nice meeting you, and thank you for having me.
Bless.
Love.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, guys. So, of course, this was a conversation Outspoken Opinionated. I had two amazing guests. I had Angel and Dr. Louie here. We're talking about, sexual identity, sexual, everything that when it comes to the LGBTQI community. We picked some amazing points, but I ask you to join us again next week, Thursday, for a different conversation. And we're going to do part 2 of this conversation in June. So get ready. I'm going to bring these people back. We're going to have a whole panel of people where we can really go into this conversation and have a deeper conversation. But without further ado, this was the conversation Outspoken Opinionated. If you aren't following us, go to YouTube, the conversation Outspoken Opinionated, Facebook, the conversation Outspoken Opinionated, on Instagram, Outspoken Opinionated Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the conversation Outspoken Opinionated. You have an amazing day. And I see you guys next week, Thursday, because